Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with OpTic confirming the plan to have Prolute return to the starting team and iLLeY back to the bench for the start of the Major 4 qualifiers, there is some hope remaining that he might be able to return for Major 4 itself and the World Championship further than that. But ZooMaa, given some history with similar situations in his career, believes that the procedure iLLeY has had done might well set him back further than many OpTic fans will be hoping to hear. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Let's just dive right into things then. Yes, Major 4 is just around the corner, starting in a couple of days' time. iLLeY will not be playing in this weekend's matches. One man that will be playing for the Boston Reach is, of course, Vivid, confirmed yesterday by Boston. And also these are the words that Vivid had said himself. Excited to close the year out with these guys. Certainly think it's a questionable decision by the Florida Mutineers to let Vivid go. I think you should upgrade the Boston team on paper. Whether that team is actually now too fast for Methods, or whether Vivid goes from getting baited by, the Florida guys to getting baited by Methods and TJ, that remains to be seen. But I think that on paper, this team is an upgrade. Of course, Capstone not on the squad as a result. I thought it was kind of funny here from the flank. A couple of memes really about, trash talk memes effectively on some of these decisions. We shall see if it works out for Boston or the Florida Mutineers, but I certainly feel like it favors Boston a little bit in this situation because right now Boston are they're certainly on the cusp of not making it through to the World Championship, but Florida Mutineers I'm pretty sure are in the drop zone right now. So it depends. We'll see what happens, right? But let's say Boston actually qualify and Florida don't, then I'm sure they're going to think maybe selling it Vivid all the way to Boston. It wasn't exactly the greatest business move. We'll see how things go. Now, of course, speaking of Capstone, right, he's the man to move away from Boston Reach to the substitute bench in place of course, Vivid coming through. He is on the team now with Clayster, and they're playing one of the elite games last night. And Clay's hitting some nice snipes right here. It turns out it's kind of funny actually what happened to Capstone because he leaves the team with Assault & Co. that just won and just beat Clayster in the grand finals of Cup 2. And now, after a bit of drama, he now finds himself on this team because Prolute left, right, and therefore Capstone joined. Honestly, such a mess. The challenger scene is honestly kind of incredible. But it turns out the Capstone, after getting benched from the team, is now back on a different challenger squad, this time with Clayster, despite beating him with Dave Paddy on that other team a couple of days ago, and is now actually, 5-0 in the elite with Clayster & Co., beating his former team 3-0 last night, right? So kind of incredible how that storyline works out. But Capstone still a very solid player. Was really a standout to the start of the season. I do feel like if Boston don't go particularly well, they might consider, okay, could Cap and Vivid be the option instead of Vivid and Nero? But we'll see how that goes, because Vivid and Nero, the aggression on that team is something that's going to be difficult for many other teams in the league to match. Of course, their first matchup, I believe, this Major 4 qualifier weekends is going to be up against OpTic Texas, and they're not going to be playing it with the team they wanted to play in. We looked at the kind of rumors yesterday that were coming out, Prolute kind of leaking that he was on a flight. People worked out that this was a flight back to Dallas-Fort Worth, and of course, by leaving Clayster's challenger team at the same time, there was no reason to do that unless they were bringing him back, of course, into the starting lineup. This is also noted yesterday that Prolute and Dashi were both kind of playing on the same Vanguard session effectively. You can look at their Discord accounts effectively and say, okay, he's been playing Vanguard Control Tuscan for this amount of time, and then it's also Dashi playing Control Tuscan at the same time. So it seemed like they're back in scrims alongside one another once again. And this is also spotted, not exactly sure how these kind of Reddit detectives or Discord detectives in this case managed to come up with this stuff. Crone said that the person who sent this to him, there's some sort of application in Discord which enables you to see private chats or effectively private servers or private voice chat sessions or whatever's going on there that you wouldn't be able to see if you don't have this kind of external application. So not sure even how this works or if OpTic or other teams might find a way around this in the future. But this was seemingly the player lounge that the OpTic guys were in last night. We can see Dashi, we can see Scump, Rambo, Ray and Cinder, the coaches, Shotzi, iLLeY of course, but Prolute there as well, and iLLeY being muted like the coaches and Prolute not being muted, right? So certainly implying here that it was Dashi, Prolute, Scump and Shotzi in the scrim, and iLLeY was there in the call, listening in as if he was a coach effectively, which is kind of now one of his, seemingly one of his roles on the team. So it's a really difficult time for iLLeY, right? Because we were hoping iLLeY would be back in business, Prolute he's on the bench for the rest of the year just in case, but we thought iLLeY after the procedure we had might be okay. Turns out that's not fully the case. The OpTic Texas guys come out with an update last night. iLLeY explains the situation, what exactly he's had done to his thumb, a cortisone shot he says over the last couple of days, and the doctor says that effectively that the pain has kind of gone away, which is obviously a good thing for him, but it's the range of motion which is causing him some issues, right? It's kind of wherever this issue was located and the tendons that are associated with that, the cortisone shot is causing some issues with that as well, and therefore he's now about a week and a half after having had it, but he reckons that the doctor says it could take about a month or so to heal and get back to normal. So potentially 2.5 weeks time, 2 weeks time, iLLeY could be back, as he says, near 100%, which for him I'm sure is going to be good enough to get back in the team if it starts and keeps moving, I suppose, in the right direction.
It's iLLeY here. I'm here with the update for you guys. Basically, about my thumb. So basically, it's a problem with the range of motion, just like the motion itself. So basically, the bump, like or lump or whatever, before was basically a nodule, which basically made my tendons like come closer together, which is messing with my range of motion because by doing that, it became really tight and stiff. But so basically, at the moment, I don't have too much pain, but it's just a range of motion thing and like just moving it. And basically, the procedure I got done was a cortisone shot, which to make the pain go away and also to make everything like go back to normal, releasing my tendons and making them free again and just making everything go back to normal. And that the doctor said it's usually gonna take like a month. It's been like a week and a half. So hopefully soon I'll be back to normal and my range of motion will be back to normal as well. That's what we're hoping for. And in the meantime, you already know the boy Byron. He's gonna be filling in for me. Guy's an absolute beast. So he's gonna be holding it down until hopefully I get back to 100% or even anywhere near there.
So what do you guys think about this, right? Prelude's back in, iLLeY is out for now. Of course, I mean, look, this is a big discussion during Major 3. Would he be back in time for Major 3? Turns out that wasn't the case. Would he be back in time for the Major 4 qualifiers? That's not the case either. And look, as he says, there is still some optimism here. It's not like he's going to necessarily be out for the rest of the year. It's not like nothing has improved. He says the pain is definitely a lot better and that's not really affecting him anymore. It's the range of motion in his thumb. And this is definitely like, you know, a concerning, let's just say, phrase, because this is kind of what ZooMaa would say back in the day as well, where he had a cyst in his wrist, and that was affecting the tendons in his fingers effectively, and his thumb especially, that was, well, causing him to not be able to play. The pain was there, and he eventually got it removed, but like it effectively caused the end of his career at the start of Black Ops Cold War ZooMaa due to a similar range of motion type thing. This might be different, right, because the cyst or whatever it is, like he didn't say it, a cyst specifically, but whatever it was in his thumb, he's not in the same place as ZooMaa's was, but he was still saying how like the kind of issue is moving around his tendons and stuff like that in his thumb, and it's affecting kind of how he feels to move it around. So there might be more to come on this. Like, it just seems like to me, every single time the OpTic guys, or like really there's a discussion in general about how well iLLeY's getting on in the recovery process, like the fact that he's going to be back or he's feeling good, it always ends up being worse than is initially considered, right? So the fact that like the guys are saying here, or iLLeY's saying that, okay, maybe, you know, 2 weeks or so until the kind of healing period is done, then I'll be, you know, it should be good to go again. Like, even like himself, just looking at his body language, obviously he's really downbeat. And understandably so, right? This guy loves cards, and the fact that he's not going to be able to play it well, at least for the next couple of weeks, is really tough. But you know, still, even then, he doesn't seem incredibly confident that in 2 weeks' time he's still going to be perfectly good to go again, right? So he's hoping he will. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure he's still very concerned, as are the rest of us, that you know, this could potentially drag on even longer than that, right? And that is the thing as well. Let's say iLLeY misses the next 2 weeks of qualifying matches. Like, you know, if he can step back in for, I mean, pretty much the discussion has been if he can step back in at all, he's going to at some point whenever they can fit him back in. But like if he doesn't play Major 4, I think it's rather unlikely he plays the World Championship, right? Even if he is okay, because there's not that many days of practice between Major 4 and Champs. Like, it's a really tough situation. Now, I wanted to show ZooMaa's reaction to this actually, because of course, as I said, he had a similar thing with you know, having a cortisone shot and stuff like this, and he reckons, like, when he heard the news right here from iLLeY that he's had this cortisone shot, like, ZooMaa was like, no, you shouldn't have done that. Like, that was not the way to go. He had a kind of similar thing, and that, if anything, set him back further. Now, some people are saying, look, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not going to try to say, oh, yeah, you should have added or you shouldn't have added, but ZooMaa's saying that it wasn't a good idea for him. Maybe in this case, it's a different story, but implying that the kind of range of motion issue, this isn't something that can necessarily sort that out.
And basically, the procedure I got done was a cortisone shot, which to make the pain go away, and also to make everything like go back
should
to normal,
not have gotten a cortisone shot. I made the same mistake.
Them free again and just
so obviously we want to stay optimistic about the OpTic camp and what the future might be there, and the fact that, okay, maybe Prelude steps in for 2 more weekends and then iLLeY comes back. But I think honestly, like, within the OpTic camp themselves, they've kind of got to think about the possibility of iLLeY not returning for the rest of the year, right? Because I feel like when iLLeY was going to come back for Major 4, internally with OpTic, they were thinking, okay, you know, whatever, we've got Prelude in here, we're going to do a good job, there's no real pressure on us because we've got a substitute. But now they're really looking at the last like 2 months of the season, thinking, okay, well, this could be our roster of 4. Like, we do internally right now have issues without iLLeY in terms of leadership, in terms of in-game communication, this type of stuff that iLLeY brought to the squads that Prelude doesn't necessarily have in his gameplay, in his arsenal, and therefore they might have to consider, okay, well, iLLeY's not necessarily just going to come back and fix those issues, we've got to fix those issues ourselves. And I think that may be a realization that might be setting in here for the OpTic guys, because even the last couple of weeks or so, they haven't had the greatest practice. It's honestly incredible, like, the way things have gone for OpTic the last several years. Finally, they get a year, the OpTic camp, they come into stage 1, they look so good on this crazy win streak with iLLeY in the team, of course. Then, like, pretty much around Major 2, that's when the pain of the kind of issues started for iLLeY. And then by the time they get to the Pro-Am, like, they, of course, get too great, right? And he has to step out of the team. But things were looking so positive for the OpTic camp this year. And then, you know, someone like this comes along and derails their entire year, right? If they can, you know, get over this one and come back with a great performance, the last 2 events, I'll be very impressed. And look, ideally, iLLeY steps back into the team. But as I say, for a few different reasons, I'm not sure that is as likely as some people, I'm sure, are hoping. Sean Collins actually talked to Rambo about this, and he effectively said, look, everyone's on board with the idea that whenever iLLeY is ready to go, he is going to come back into the team. And some further details here on the fact that without their shot caller, they were kind of struggling there in Major 3s at LAN, for example. And also, effectively, well, saying the following as well, that Dallywall revealed, that being iLLeY, of course, that he's had this caller zone shot to make the pain go away and make everything go back to normal. But, you know, it's unclear whether that's going to solve the entire issue, because as yet, the last couple of weeks or so, iLLeY's tried to step back in, hasn't fully worked out. Maybe in 2 weeks' time, it'll be better, but I kind of doubt that it's going to be, you know, all sunshine and rainbows again and perfectly back to normal after this, right? And there was some rumors even from ZooMaa, but after this season, surgery or something might be kind of necessary to get iLLeY back into form. So difficult times for sure, but as Rambo goes on to say, he touched the 6 again and he wasn't really where he wants to be to come back in terms of range of motion. He has to worry about a lot more than average standard playing. He has to worry about how he's maneuvering on the map due to like the kind of range of motion issues that he was describing, right? So very tough scenes indeed. Very much intrigued to your perspective on this one in the comment section below. But as iLLeY says, whatever it takes, right? So if it means he's going to have to take 2 more weeks off playing any Call of Duty at all, and then you know, hopefully the range of motion starts to come back. Difficult to say what the future, of course, holds here, but yeah, hoping the best for iLLeY and the recovery as well. Because even after this season, there's questions as well, like, you know, what if iLLeY in this off season, like the issue's more severe than it was thought about, and therefore, like, he has to go through like a whole recuperation process in the off season. Like, you know, what OpTic even think about in that situation, right? If they're thinking, okay, well, could iLLeY be even back for the start of next season, right? Like, it's questions that will, I'm sure, come along this over the coming months. With any luck, he's going to be back in business very soon indeed. Let's talk about the Major 4 schedule then, of course, because the matches that iLLeY is going to miss, at least for this weekend of matches, that's the only thing that's been confirmed, I think, is that he's going to miss this weekend. More than likely, he's going to miss next weekend as well of matches. And well, we'll see those matches for this weekend, at least here in a second. This, I wish more teams would do. I thought was kind of cool from the Los Angeles Guerrillas, looking at their kind of, well, their Major 4 run through to Major 4 itself. These are the 5 games they play, right? So honestly, it's a pretty difficult schedule. It's not impossible by any means, but they play Toronto, New York, of course, are pretty much a must-win series for New York in that one, right? If they want to have any chance of actually making it a champs, then they play FaZe, Boston, the kind of new potentially upgraded Boston, London as well, with Harry out and Gizmo back in. So definitely not the easiest schedule in the world. They currently have 125 CDL points, the 7th seed. They're far from safe here, and if their team doesn't improve, let's say they go like 1-4 here, like I think it's rather unlikely at that point they make it through to the World Championship, with other teams probably still moving in the right direction. And these are the games for this week, officially kind of announced yesterday. Well, they were already announced, but like the CDL finally did a graphic for them yesterday, and these are the games for this weekend. There's certainly some standouts to me. New York Subliners versus Los Angeles Guerrillas, that's a banger, because yeah, the Neptune versus New York thing, that's going to be spicy. LA Thieves versus FaZe to finish out the week. There's a couple of bounty matches here as well with 10k on the line. But again, OpTic's 2 games, certainly their matches start easier than they finish. Most certainly, I'm pretty sure they play Thieves towards the end, or Toronto, and then I think New York as well. Not exactly sure of those last 3 games, but I think it gets harder on paper, and their first game is up against the Boston Breach, right? So these are the 2 games at the very least that Prolute will be playing in this coming weekend. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, told you YouTube gods, this is a good video. I'd also like you should see it as well, and I grow the competitive Call of Duty community. I think always, as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.